Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me tell you something that will set your spirit free and realign your life with divine clarity. For too long, you've been distracted by people who never had your destiny in mind. You've been handing out pieces of your purpose like flyers on a street corner, giving your time, your energy, your mind to people and things that were never meant to go where God is taking you. It's time to stop explaining your growth to people who are committed to misunderstanding your journey. It's time to reclaim your focus. Time is too precious, too divine, and too limited to waste on things that bear no eternal fruit. Listen, God didn't place that dream inside of you just to entertain your imagination. That dream is a calling. That idea is a seed. That vision is a blueprint. Nothing will grow until you water it with focus. It's not selfish to focus on you. It's spiritual warfare to ignore your assignment. If the enemy can't destroy you, he'll distract you. And some of you have been distracted into delay. You need to focus on healing. You need to focus on learning. You need to focus on building. You need to focus on becoming. While you're scrolling through the highlight reels of other people's lives, you're missing the highlight God wants to produce through yours. It's time to shut the noise down, shut the confusion down, shut the people pleasing down. You don't owe anyone an apology for focusing on what God called you to do. You don't need permission to take your time back. Reclaim your peace, your passion, your priorities, and walk boldly toward your purpose. Let me tell you something that could save your life, your peace, and your purpose. Your time is sacred. It is not just a number on a clock. It is not just a block on a calendar. It is not just something you fill with things to do. It is your life in motion. Time is the invisible currency of purpose. It is the breath between your birth and your breakthrough. Every moment you live is an investment into something, into growth, into healing, into destiny, or into distraction, delay, and regret. Make no mistake about it, you are spending your life every single second. Because some of us have been living like we have eternity on earth. We say, I'll do it later. I'll start tomorrow. I'll get to it one day. But that day never comes because we're not treating our time like it's sacred. We're treating it like it's disposable. People leave this earth with vision still trapped in their mind, with books unwritten, businesses unstarted, ministries unbirthed, songs unsung, prayers unspoken, and healing unclaimed, all because they thought they had more time. But when you realize that time is sacred, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop entertaining foolish conversations. You stop chasing people who were never meant to walk with you. You stop compromising your calling to comfort someone else's insecurities. You realize, I don't have time to go backward. I don't have time to argue. I don't have time to doubt myself again. Sacred time doesn't belong to everything. It doesn't belong to every voice. It doesn't belong to every invitation, every distraction, every emotion. Sacred time has boundaries. Sacred time has focus. Sacred time says, if it doesn't align with where God is taking me, I can't give it my minutes. People may not understand you when you start honoring your time. They may call you selfish. They may call you distant. They may say you've changed. You can rebuild money. You can restore relationships. You can renew energy. But you can never rewind time. And that's why you must guard it like gold. That's why you must wake up with purpose in your heart. That's why you must ask every day, am I doing what I was created to do? Because when you don't know how sacred time is, you'll waste your days trying to please people who don't even respect your path. You'll give years to relationships that drain your joy. You'll pour your potential into dead places hoping to resurrect what God already told you to release. But when you treat your time as holy, you begin to walk differently. You don't move with desperation. You move with direction. You stop trying to prove yourself to everybody because you realize that destiny doesn't need an audience, it just needs obedience. Stop apologizing for being unavailable to what drains you. Stop feeling guilty for saying no when your soul is screaming for space. Stop explaining your focus to people who are still addicted to distraction. Because when you stop treating time like it's ordinary, you start using it extraordinarily. You begin to make room for your purpose. You start building what you were born to build. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth, and you start walking in divine confidence. God sees you honoring your time. He begins to accelerate your steps. You may feel behind, but God can redeem time. When you focus, when you obey, when you eliminate what no longer fits your future, He can do in 1 year what you tried to do in 10. And when you do that, when you decide to treat your time as holy, you will begin to see the supernatural alignments, breakthroughs, clarity, peace, productivity that have been waiting on your decision. Distractions don't always look like danger. Sometimes they look like invitations. They look like opportunities. They come wrapped in good intentions, in familiar faces, in urgent requests, in emotional attachments. And if you're not discerning, you'll mistake them for destiny. We live in a world full of noise, full of movement, full of motion that has no meaning. And if you're not focused, you will spend your life busy, but never built, active, but never aligned. Surrounded, but never settled, distracted, but never delivered, because the enemy of your progress is not always destruction. It's distraction. The enemy knows he can't stop what God has ordained, but if he can delay it, if he can detour it, if he can make you pause just long enough, he can slow down your destiny until you forget what you were even born to do. It doesn't come to flirt. It comes to fracture your future. It doesn't come to play. It comes to pull you away from the place of your assignment. And some of us are not failing because of sin or laziness. We're failing because we've been too distracted to stay in position. You're praying for progress. You keep letting people pull you into pointless conversations. You're asking for purpose, but you're constantly scrolling through other people's lives, comparing your journey to theirs. You're begging for breakthrough, but every time the door starts to open, you let a distraction shut it with delay. You can't build something meaningful if you're always reacting to meaningless things. You can't walk in divine timing while being emotionally led by everything that pops up. You can't step into a new season while entertaining distractions from your old one. Every time God gives you a window to create, to pray, to grow, to push, distraction comes knocking. And if you don't recognize it for what it is, you'll keep entertaining what's costing you everything. See, distraction is strategic. It shows up right before major decisions. It shows up when you're finally making progress. It shows up when you're just starting to believe in yourself again. It doesn't show up when you're stuck. It shows up when you're moving, because the enemy doesn't need to distract people who are already lost. He's coming after those who are on their way somewhere. It's not always a person or a phone or a situation. Sometimes it's your fear, your doubt, your anxiety, your need for approval, your perfectionism, voice in your head that keeps second guessing everything God told you, that inner noise that tells you you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. Ask yourself, what's been eating your time? What's been robbing your focus? What's been interrupting your growth? You were not created to be pulled in 10 directions. You were not designed to be reactive to every notification, every opinion, every trend. You were born for purpose. You were born for something intentional, and purpose demands attention. This is why the enemy throws distractions at you, because he's terrified of what will happen if you ever stay focused. If you ever lock in, if you ever stop wasting time, if you ever cut the noise and chase the assignment. Some of you are stuck in places you were never meant to stay because you got distracted halfway to the promise. You stopped to entertain criticism. You got sidetracked by someone else's opinion. You let one rejection become your new reality. You took a break, and now you've built a house in a place you were supposed to pass through. And if you don't wake up and shift, distraction can become your lifestyle. You'll find yourself always busy, always overwhelmed, always surrounded by noise, but never truly fulfilled. You'll be stuck doing things that look like progress, but produce no real fruit. Even Jesus, when he walked the earth, would withdraw from the crowd to pray, to focus, to realign. If he needed solitude to stay focused on his mission, what makes us think we can live on purpose while being pulled in every direction? You don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. You already have the ideas. You already have the calling. You already have the anointing. If you keep letting everything pull at you, you'll live beneath your potential. I'm done letting distractions delay my development. I'm done scrolling when I should be seeking. I'm done responding to things that don't deserve my voice. I'm done giving energy to what doesn't feed my purpose. Don't let anything or anyone pull you away from what God is building in you. Because every time you choose focus over distraction, you're choosing growth. You're choosing faith. You're choosing purpose. Let's break a lie that has held too many people hostage for too long. The idea that focusing on yourself is selfish. That if you prioritize your healing, your peace, your time, your mental and spiritual health, you're being arrogant. That if you choose yourself over chaos, distance yourself from distractions, walk away from what drains you, you're somehow wrong. Let me set the record straight right now, Focus is not selfish, it's spiritual. You were never created to be everyone's emergency contact. You were never meant to be everyone's savior, fixer, counselor, or emotional crutch. Somewhere along the way, you forgot that your soul needs tending too. You forgot that you are human. You forgot that you bleed, you break, and you burn out just like anyone else. You've been pouring and pouring, and now your cup is cracked. You've been available for everyone, and now you're empty for yourself. You can't help anybody when you're drowning. You can't lift others when you're crumbling. You can't give your best when you don't know who you are anymore. When you finally say no, when you finally stop showing up for chaos, when you stop answering calls that cost you peace, when you stop being available for dysfunction, they get angry, not because you're selfish, because they can't use your self-neglect anymore. How can you obey your calling when you don't even know who you are anymore? How can you build something meaningful when you're scattered in 1,000 directions? How can you love others the way God called you to if you don't even love yourself enough to rest? You're aligning your mind with peace. You're aligning your spirit with purpose. You're aligning your habits with destiny. You're aligning your values with your vision. And listen, there is a difference between selfishness and stewardship. Selfishness says, everything is about me. I owe the world nothing. You can't manage a life you're too distracted to live. You can't steward a destiny you've given away to everybody's demands. You've become so tangled in their expectations, their needs, their noise, that you can't even hear you anymore. You've been out here trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed, fighting battles that aren't yours, losing sleep over people who sleep just fine without you. And all the while, your own life has been bleeding at the edges. It's not selfish to say, I need to sit down and get my mind right. It's not selfish to say, I need to distance myself from this environment. It's not selfish to say, I need to cut some ties so I can finally grow. Because when you start focusing on yourself, everything begins to change. You start noticing your patterns. You start addressing your wounds. You start evaluating your boundaries. You stop settling. You stop accepting bare minimums. You stop chasing after people who never had the capacity to value you. And let me warn you, some people won't like that version of you. They won't know what to do with the version of you that's no longer desperate for their validation. They won't like the you that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't play small. Because this season isn't about, it's about being liked. It's about being aligned. It's not about approval. It's about assignment. It's not about staying connected. It's about being corrected by God. God is trying to correct your posture. You've been bowed down to people for too long. He's trying to restore your spine. He's trying to raise you up again. That raising requires removal. You can't elevate while carrying the weight of people who expect you to neglect yourself. So don't apologize for choosing you this time. Don't shrink back because someone called you selfish. Don't explain your growth to people who are comfortable with your dysfunction. He can't bless the version of you that's performing. He can't anoint the mask. He can't send divine assignments to a distracted soul. But when you get still, when you get honest, when you look in the mirror and say, I matter too, heaven responds. You cannot walk in purpose with a casual mindset. You cannot fulfill destiny by chance or by simply hoping it all works out someday. Purpose doesn't bend to wishful thinking. It responds to priority. Until you start prioritizing your purpose, it will remain a concept, a dream, a desire floating in your imagination. Purpose is not passive. It doesn't activate in the background while you busy yourself with distractions. It demands your focus. It requires your intention. It commands your time, your attention, and your decisions. We live in a world that glorifies multitasking, idolizes business, and praises people for being pulled in 10 directions. But purpose doesn't thrive in chaos. It thrives in clarity. It requires order. It demands that you choose what matters most and make room for it. You can't become who you were born to be while living like everyone else. You cannot treat your calling casually and expect supernatural results. You cannot say you want to change the world, but still wake up every day reacting to life instead of directing it. The reason some people never see their vision come to life is not because they lack talent or resources or opportunity. It's because they haven't made their purpose a priority. They're too distracted, too accessible, too entertained, too entangled in things that don't align with their calling. You can't give your destiny the scraps of your day, the edge of your focus, or the moments that fall in between your distractions and expect greatness to be born. That might mean waking up earlier to pray, to write, to plan, to study. That might mean turning down invitations that pull you away from your goals. That might mean saying no to things that used to excite you because now you're building something eternal. Purpose isn't hiding. It's waiting. Waiting on you to stop treating it like an option and start honoring it like a mandate. Your life is not an accident. Your gifts are not random. Your passions are not coincidental. They were divinely planted. And they will not be fulfilled by chance. They must be cultivated by choice. You need to know what matters to you. You need to define what's essential. You need to look at your life and ask, does this align with who I'm becoming? And commitment says, I may not feel like it, but I show up anyway. Commitment says, I may not see results yet, but I'm planting anyway. Commitment says, this may cost me comfort. I value my future more than my feelings. The enemy isn't just after your peace, he's after your priorities. Because if he can confuse your focus, if he can get you chasing things that look good but aren't God ordained, he can keep you busy but unfulfilled. Purpose will demand that you get quiet, that you get focused, that you get serious about how you spend your time, who you allow into your circle, and what you give your attention to. Sometimes the greatest miracle isn't in getting more, but in finally seeing what was already within you. Breakthrough isn't always about God sending something new. It's often about you focusing on what he already gave. And the moment you shift your focus, you change your life. You see, many people are praying for breakthrough while focusing on breakdown. They are praying for healing while focusing on what hurt them. They're asking God to bless them while staying fixated on everything that's been blocking them. But whatever has your focus has your future. But the truth is, breakthrough is already in the room. It's not a matter of distance. It's a matter of direction. And when you shift your focus, when you stop obsessing over what didn't happen, who left, what went wrong, and what's missing, you make room for heaven to move. Clarity comes when you make a choice to shift your vision away from what's fading and toward what's forming. You've been asking why they left, but God is preparing someone who's assigned to your next level, and you'll miss them if your focus stays stuck in the rear view. Sometimes your miracle isn't delayed, it's just being blocked by what you refuse to stop watching. You've been so focused on the betrayal that you didn't see how it freed you from the wrong environment. And distraction doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks familiar, comfortable, even necessary. It's not just sin that keeps us stuck, it's sight. What are you looking at? Who are you giving your gaze to? What has consumed your mental and emotional energy? But when you shift your focus, when you stop chasing the opinions of others, when you stop comparing your path to theirs, when you stop wasting time trying to prove yourself, you begin to see the divine details you used to overlook. Some of you are one focus, shift away from favor. One focus, shift away from your next level. One focus, shift away from hearing God clearly. One focus, shift away from peace like you've never known before. Will I keep staring at the storm, or will I start walking on water? I keep analyzing my wounds, or will I step into healing? Will I keep rehearsing old offenses, or will I finally embrace freedom? That might mean turning off some noise. That might mean deleting some apps. That might mean putting your phone down and picking your faith back up. Might mean unfollowing the lives you keep comparing yourself to and getting still enough to hear your own instructions again. Because the truth is, you've been equipped all along, but your focus has been feeding fear instead of faith, feeding doubt instead of destiny, feeding distractions instead of discipline. Let me tell you, the enemy doesn't panic when you talk about breakthrough. He panics when you focus. He panics when you stop scrolling and start seeking. He panics when you stop reacting and start building. He panics when you stop complaining and start declaring. Focus is a weapon. Focus is alignment. Focus is faith with direction. You stop begging and start believing. You stop chasing and start creating. You stop explaining and start executing. Some of you have been praying for what God is ready to release, but your focus is still tethered to people and problems He already told you to let go of. You can't step into new vision with old eyes. God will breathe on your effort. He'll magnify your progress. He'll anoint your discipline. He'll send people, provision, and power to meet you right at the point of your obedience. Breakthrough isn't far. It's one decision away, one moment of clarity, one shift of your focus, one bold declaration. I'm done watching the wrong things. I'm ready to walk in the right things.